Hey guys, so for today's video I'm going to be doing a review of the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. I know that when a lot of people do reviews of the complexion sponge on YouTube, they also compare it to the Beauty Blender. Now I actually don't have the Beauty Blender because I didn't really want to spend that much money for a sponge, which is why I got the complexion sponge, but I do have a very, very, very cheap alternative of the Beauty Blender. This was about 99 pence off Amazon. So I thought I could kind of compare these two against each other, as this is kind of similar from what I've seen to the Beauty Blender as well. But I've been wanting to try the Real Techniques Complexion Sponge for a while because I really, really do like this sponge. There's just some downfalls with this one, but I've been wanting to try this for a while and I bought it about 2 weeks ago. I didn't want to do a very, very first impression like me getting out of the packaging and trying it for the very, very first time on camera, because I have watched a lot of reviews on it and I've seen that some people have said that it can take a little bit of getting used to, which I do agree with. It's not like getting used to as in, because obviously it's just a sponge, it's not hard to use, but there are certain ways of using it to kind of maximise the coverage and reduce the amount of foundation that your sponge soaks up. So like I said, I have bought this already and used it quite a few times. I bought it about 2 weeks ago and I've probably used it about 7 times since then, and I do really, really like it. As you can see, you've got the flat edge, which I use for covering my whole face, and then you've kind of got the rounded side and the point. I don't really use the rounded side, I'm not very big on using that to apply the foundation, but the point is really handy for getting under your eyes for your under eye concealer and in small places around your nose and kind of like between your eyebrows and things like that. The material of this one compared with the very one that's similar to the Beauty Blender is it's a lot more, I don't know how to describe it, it's a lot more textured. Like this one is very, very smooth and it kind of bounces, whereas this one is super, super bouncy, but it's very, very textured. Like it's quite porous, like a kind of like bath sponge where you've got all the tiny little holes in it as well. So because of that, I found that this one does soak up more foundation. I have found sort of ways to get around that, but just be aware that when you're using your foundation, this will use, I'm probably going to say, at least half a pump more foundation than when I use my brushes instead. So when you first get the Miracle Complexion Sponge in the packet, it is smaller than this. A lot of people say that it grows to double the size. I don't think it grows to double the size. I'd probably say that before you wet it, it's probably about 3/4 of the size of this sponge. So you hold it under running water, and I just like to hold it under there for probably about 30 seconds. I like to give it just a few squeezes just to get the water in there, and then it is ready to apply your foundation. So for foundation today, I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Paris Lume Magique Light Infusing Foundation. This is a very dewy foundation, so it's perfect for my skin, and it works super, super well with a sponge because you kind of get that like extra glowy look. I have already applied a primer as well, and I used the L'Oreal Paris, the Lume Magique Light Infusing Primer, which goes with this foundation. So far as yet, I haven't noticed a difference between using a primer and not using a primer with the Miracle Complexion Sponge. I find personally that as long as my face has been recently moisturised with a moisturiser, an oil, hydrating primer, anything like that, kind of within the last 10 minutes, that's when I get the best results with the complexion sponge. But that's just my skin. I have very, very dry skin. So if you have slightly oilier skin, you might want to leave it a little bit longer after applying your moisturiser or primer or anything like that. So as I said earlier, this sponge does soak up more foundation than my other sponge, and of course if you're just using a regular foundation brush. When I first used this, I picked up the tiniest amount of foundation and tried to dot it on my face, and I noticed that I was getting really, really light coverage. And that was because I was only picking up a tiny amount of foundation on the sponge and it was soaking all of it up immediately, so hardly any of it was going on my face. So when I tried it again, what I tried to do is pick up a larger amount of foundation on the sponge and dot it across the area that I wanted to do. I usually work kind of like cheek, forehead. That's how I do my foundation all the time. So I'll dot it all across my cheek so my cheek's kind of covered, and then I'll start to buff it in. So I've taken a large amount of that foundation onto the sponge, and then I'm just going to dot it across my cheek and the area that I'm first going to apply the foundation to. So from here, what I'll start to do is I'll just start to stipple the brush onto my face, kind of like bouncing up and down. I'm not really dragging it. I find that, again, that for my type of skin, it's far, far better to stipple the sponge. And as well, sometimes if I need to kind of move the foundation around, I'll stipple it on and kind of drag ever so slightly, if you can kind of see what I mean. I'm not dragging it across my face, but I'm buffing and pulling almost. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying, because I'm making no sense. And then when it gets to my jawline, I do drag it down to my jawline just so I don't have a line of demarcation on my jaw, and of course to my ear and hairline as well. And then after all that foundation has been blended in, I will go back and apply a second coat because I do have very red cheeks, so I do like to cover that up. I will now move, while that's kind of settling into my face, onto my other cheek. Okay, so I've completed one layer on my face, and that has used one full pump of the L'Oreal foundation. Usually one full pump would get me a full face and a second application across my cheeks and slightly across my chin as well, if I was using my normal foundation brush, which is the Real Techniques buffing brush. If you like a super light layer and you don't have kind of redness and darkness across your cheeks like I do, I think that one pump and one layer would be absolutely perfect. You can still see your natural skin underneath. It's not like a mask, it's so natural, it just looks like your skin but better. So one layer with the Real Techniques sponge, if you have good skin or if you like a really light foundation, would be perfect for you. But as I said, I do like to cover up my cheeks, so for my second layer I don't apply it all across my face because I do still want quite a natural look. I will just apply it over the areas where I need a little bit of extra coverage. So I'm going to use probably about half a pump more, probably no more than that. And then this time, because I still need to put quite a bit of foundation onto my sponge so it doesn't soak up, but I don't want that much on each cheek, I'm going to take a bit and then dot on one cheek first and then dot on the other and then stipple it in. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of extra onto my nose as well, because I do have quite a lot of redness on my nose. And I'm going to take that up to between my eyebrows as well, because again, I have quite a lot of redness there. And so there is my completed foundation. I hope the camera can see just how kind of glowy it is. It's not super glowy like an oil slick, but you can see a glow across my cheeks and my chin. And you could powder that super easily if you didn't want to be glowy. But I personally really like it. It's natural, it's lovely, and you can see your natural skin underneath. Like, you can hide extra blemishes with a concealer, but your skin does shine through, and it really is just your skin but better. If you're the kind of person that likes super full coverage, something like this probably would not be best for you because it does apply in light layers. So you don't have to have a super light coverage with this, but it is buildable, and to get a full coverage it would take you quite a few layers and you would use a lot of foundation. I'd probably say skip out the middleman and just use a brush, because you're going to use less foundation, it's going to take you less time, and it's just going to be far easier. So overall, I really do think that when applying your foundation with a sponge, it is super glowy, dewy, it's lovely, and it's natural. Moving on to concealer, I'm taking the Rimmel Wake Me Up concealer. I'm going to take this in a triangle underneath my eyes. I'm also going to take it around the sides of my nose to cover up redness and on any blemishes that I have as well. Okay, to blend in my concealer, I'm going to alternate between the flat side and the pointy side, but I'm going to start with the flat side to kind of buff out the concealer around my nose and on my blemishes. So I'm just stippling this in. With my concealer, I'm not going to stipple and pull, if you guys kind of know what I mean, like I did with my foundation, because I just want that concealer on that specific area. I'm just literally going to stipple right over the top of that area. And then to start my concealer, to blend out the outer edges, I'm going to start with the flat side of the brush, and again I'm just stippling directly over the top. I'm not stippling and pulling, I'm just bouncing the sponge over the area. Okay, so now the majority of my concealer has blended in, I'm going to turn to the pointed side so I can make sure that I can get really close into my inner corner. And I'm just going to run that along the underneath my eye, particularly so that I can buff out any lines that the concealer has settled into. And then I'm going to make sure that my concealer is completely blended out on my inner corner as well. Okay, so to set that concealer in place, although so it doesn't budge, I'm going to use the Complexion Sheer Loose Powder in Translucent on kind of a little fluffy brush, and I'm going to take that under my eye. I think I will do a how to conceal and highlight the under eyes video maybe soon, because it's taken me so long to kind of find the right techniques for me and what suits my skin and the right products, and it's taken me ages, and I just couldn't find a video out there that was suited to me. Everyone, when I was looking for videos and reviews on how to set your under eye concealer, even though mine was just creasing and horrible, they all just said it with a powder, try this. I tried everything and nothing has worked. So I finally kind of found a routine that works for me. So I think I might do a specific video on highlighting and setting the under eye area. So let me know if that's a video that you guys want to see. So here is the completed base and foundation using the Miracle Complexion sponge. I absolutely love this little sponge. I think it is a fantastic tool, and this right now is my go-to foundation application technique because it is so quick and easy. Like I said, it did take me a couple of applications just to get used to it, not because you need to get used to using the sponge, but because, you know, you want to experiment with the coverage that it gives you and how you like your coverage, how your skin type works with it, what kind of foundations work best with it. It's just a kind of a slight learning curve, but after a couple of applications you will know exactly what works best for your skin type and what works best for you. This would work really well if you had dry skin as well, like me, because it does give you like a really nice glow, not too over the top. But I would think that it would also work well for oily skinned people too, because you can powder the areas that are oily and you want to mattify as well. So I think this really is sort of a really good all-rounder for nearly everyone really. So yes, overall I really like this. Compared with my non-beauty blender, I really like this one. They both have their pros and cons, but overall I would say that this one is better, and it still is relatively cheap. I think I got mine for like £5.99. And if you live in England as well, like Superdrug always have offers on, like now and again, they're like 3 for 2 on Real Techniques. So the price does work out cheaper, but on its own £5.99 I still think is relatively cheap compared with a foundation brush. This does everything. You can do a lot with this. You can apply foundation, concealer. It even says you can apply your powder. You can do cream blush, cream contour, anything like that. So for £5.99 it's just a really good all-rounded product really. And look, now I have finished my video, the sun has come back out and the rain has gone. How coincidental. Thank you, Britain. So I'm going to finish off my makeup and I will be right back. And here is the rest of my makeup. I was feeling purples today, so I thought I would do a bit of a purple eye look. I think in the future I'm going to film a kind of hooded eye, smoky eye tutorial, because even though I don't have quite hooded eyes, I do have a super small mobile lid compared to my upper lid, which is huge, and my upper lid does hang over slightly, so I do have slightly hooded eyes, and I know just what a struggle it is to do eyeshadow. So I think if that's something that you guys would like to see, a hooded eyeshadow tutorial, then let me know down below. So I hope you enjoyed my review of the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. If there are any other reviews or videos that you would like me to do, just leave me a comment in the comment section below. I will leave all the information about this little guy in the description box below, and also all the information from the video and anything that I forgot to mention, because knowing me, there will probably be something that I'll think about in about 4 hours time that I forgot to say, so all of that will be in the description box below. If you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, it really helps me out, and of course please subscribe to my channel as well if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!